responsible for all of the day-to-day business that is the Royal Albert Hall, the running of the shows, the running of the venue, and making sure that at the end of every day we're full and we're full of great shows. That's my job, that's my responsibility. We do very nearly 400 shows. This year will be 396 in the main auditorium. We operate at about 86-87% capacity, so every single one of those nearly 400 shows is sold to that level. We have a capacity of about between 5,000 and 5,500 seats, depending on the configuration for every show. And we are 143 years old. And the reason the hall is so special, one of the reasons the hall is so special, is that combination of history and prestige and age and excitement that comes from the artists who every night get up on the stage and do their thing. Classical, rock, pop, jazz, every kind of genre that you can imagine. That combination of historical grandeur and spectacle with contemporary excitement gives this place what we like to think of as fairy dust or soul. It's very difficult to define, but it's very easy to see when it's there, when it's present. And night after night after night, whoever you're seeing in this building, you tend to feel special. You tend to feel as though you're in the presence of something or someone special, and that comes from a combination of who you're listening to and how many people are around you, but it also comes from where you are, and that's something that the Royal Albert Hall is able to add to pretty much every performance that we're proud enough to host. So, some numbers. 400 shows a year. Budget in terms of the hall's share of income is about £18 million. Expenditure budget every year is around £13 million. Staff slightly depends because we have a number of categories, but full or part-time hall staff in round numbers is about 200 to cope with that 400 show level. But then we have a whole host of additional staff in two areas in particular. Number one, the stewards, the people who meet and greet, who show people to their seats. In a building of this size with this many levels and doors and all the rest of it, we can have 50 or 60 people working every night on a show, just front of house. That's before you get to technical crews or anybody else. So that pool, if you like, from which we choose 50 or so per night is in addition. And then catering. We have 3 bars, 3 restaurants and 13 bars here. We can be employing, again, at least 50 or 60 front of house catering staff plus chefs every single day of the year. We have a catering partner that we work with, but that level of staffing is in addition as well. The Royal Albert Hall is almost unique. I don't think there are many, if any, other facilities worldwide that operate in quite the same way as we do. In very simple terms, we operate as though we were commercial, but we're not. We're a charity, so we have no shareholders. We are not answerable to anybody except ourselves. We are held in trust on behalf of the nation. We tend to think of ourselves as held in trust on behalf of the world, but strictly speaking, it's only of the UK. And we operate without subsidy. We operate without the need, apart from every decade or so, to do any kind of major fundraising campaigns. We operate on the basis that if we are successful booking the right shows, if we are successful working with the right partners, and if we are successful in filling the hall night after night after night, we can earn enough money not only to pay the very substantial costs that it takes to run a building of this size and this age, but even to make a surplus. And by making a surplus year on year, to build up a war chest if we need it for major repairs or renovations, and certainly every year to just reinvest, to just make sure that our facilities are as good as they can possibly be. And that's an expensive undertaking anywhere in the world, but particularly here in London. And we need to make sure we have a surplus created in order to do that. How do we create the surplus? We are very fortunate to attract many of the best artists from around the world. The income that we get comes from a mixture of rental, of ticket commission. We run a box office, we have restaurants, we have bars. There's a merchandise operation that goes on around many of the shows. And we have some sponsors and some corporate partners as well. And through a mix of all of that income, all generated because of the shows that we have, and all generated in-house. We don't have anybody external helping us with that. We find we're in a much greater position of control over how we want the hall to be, how we want the feeling of the hall to be, and how we want the perception of the hall to be from outside. And we would like to think that we make the right choices all of the time, or at least most of the time, and we would like to think that our audiences and our clients, the artists who come and perform on our stage and the presenters who work here, see the value of us operating in this rather special way. It is very unlike the strictly commercial world, and it's very unlike the strictly subsidized world. We are a kind of hybrid that sits in the middle, and we think we sit there very comfortably. It depends a little bit on what style of entertainment you're talking about. In the classical world, in the opera world, in the ballet world, we are working a minimum of 12 months out, usually 18 months to 2 years is a pretty standard time frame. For rock and pop, it varies hugely. It depends on the age of the artist and the age of the audience of the artist. We don't want to restrict our rock and pop program only to people who've already had 20, 30, 40 years of success. We are very delighted when legends come and play at the Royal Albert Hall, but we also want young artists. We also want people on their way up to the top. And for those artists, success can come very quickly in some cases. And if we worked on a 2-year cycle for rock and pop, we would frankly miss an awful lot of younger bands, younger performers coming through the business, and we would only get them many, many years later when they're at the top or have been at the top for many years. It's very important to us, because of the younger audience that they bring, to try and attract, to try and catch some of the performers, as I say, on their way up, or up through the business levels, and thereby give us an even greater variety in programming terms for the world to see. They're able to see a complete spectrum within genre of different levels of performer, as well as different genres of performance, week after week, all the way through the year.